Oil and gas industry makes $3 billion a day in pure profit. And it's only getting bigger. But before any of that money is made, you gotta secure the land, then manage the people. That's my job. First part's pretty simple. It's the second part that can get you killed.
Well, the landman is essentially the guy who runs the whole operation, even though, you know, John Hamm's character, Monty, owns the oil company. It's my job to make sure he makes money. The landman procures the land for the drilling, deals with a lot of nefarious characters sometimes in doing so, and also is out there in the fields with the guys, you know, and some of them can be problematic because they're not guys like in the old gas station, white uniforms with a bow tie exactly, you know. And that's one of the things I learned about. You know, I knew a little about the oil business because I was raised down there, but the thing is, I didn't realize how many sort of like ex-cons and felons and stuff like this are working on these crews, you know. And maybe they have a vibe about them already, but it's the only place they can make $180,000 a year to feed their families. So it's completely understandable. And you got to commend them because they're trying to take care of their families, and they could never get a job like this anywhere else. You know, people think it's just simply drilling oil, and the danger is in, you know, if you're standing too close to the pump jack or something, you know, and get boned in the head by it. But in fact, I mean, you know, they share this land sometimes with you know, criminal elements, and they have to deal with that too. It's a landman has the weight of the world on his shoulders, and he drives 300, 400, 500 miles a day. That's why there are so many phone calls in this, because a landman's always in his truck going from this one to that one, back home, then to a meeting, then to his boss's house, you know, all in one day. And it's a very taxing job.
Did you see any of yourself in him when you started working on the role?
Well, Taylor wrote it for me. I mean, he actually said, "I have your voice," because we'd worked together before and had known each other a little. And he said, "I think I have your voice." And I said to him, "I think it's half my voice and half yours." And so, yes, I did. If I were an oil guy, if I were a landman, I would probably be about like I was in the show.
It's an absolute blast. You know, she's a larger-than-life character. She's incredibly dynamic, and I finally had a role that I could really sink my teeth into. It wasn't about how subtle she could be. You know, it wasn't about keeping it close to the cuff. Like, this woman is an emotional tornado. She feels things 110%, whether it's her cooking dinner, going to the gym, you know, trying to get her husband back. Like, all these things that she feels are very big and very intense. And then it can also flip down the other way, and you see her when she's crumbling and when she's falling apart. And so I think that, you know, to be able to work on a character that's that, you know, colorful and big has been a dream. I'm an actress. I don't want to just show things bright and shiny. There's no interest in me in showing a one-dimensional character. And so to only see her looking that way, you would never see who she is, because we all go home and we all wake up and know what it's like to have that 3 a.m. darkness of the night. And so what's amazing about Taylor's writing is that I got to explore those things. And so for me, from the very beginning, it was very important that she was incredibly put together when she comes in, and as you see her kind of going back to where she loves and where she's from, you see it just as very slow, gradual, you know, back to her more comfortable jeans, you know, less hair and makeup, like really start to feel comfortable in who she was and who she wants to be. And so I thought I mean, everything was calculated. You know, it's not like this was like, oh, this is just happening. There was a tremendous amount of work that was put into this show from all the actors and everyone on the crew.
Tommy?
I think that, you know, he's the love of her life and the father of her children. And, you know, when you're talking about oil world, you know, she was there in the boom and she was there in the bust, and incredibly dark times were had for her and her family. And when you see why they had to separate, when you really start to understand the dynamics of what they've been through in their life, you know, you're really not so upset with Angela when you see how brutal it was. And then she realizes that in the end, like, her children are older and she wants to figure out how to put her family back together. And it's all coming from that place of love. And I think that also these two characters, these two people see each other and they accept each other for who they are without judgment. And I think that is something that you very rarely see, even in life. You know, so many people are filled with judgment. They can be in the most wicked fight, do the most horrible things, and then they're able to laugh because they have this deeper understanding and connection with each other. And I think that was really special to get to play.
He doesn't really know when we start. I think that's what's great about Cooper is he's learning as everyone else is. He's fresh to this, has no idea. So every day is like going to school. I mean, he learns at the end more than he ever thought went on in this world, and really has to push himself to do some of the things that he wasn't expecting to do. There's a lot of danger around the job that has been told, but he didn't understand until he's there. So it's there's a lot going on in Cooper's head, but you know, just between life and work especially.
So yeah, auditioned for him for Wind River and got the role, and then he just would call me up and say, "Hey buddy, I got a part for you," and I just tell him where and when, and I show up. I know it's going to be a fantastic story. It's going to be a great character. It's going to be a challenge every time. So it's a win-win situation.
Well, I would say it's tough to be a sheriff anywhere,
Yeah.
but in that lifestyle and all the, you know, the sheriff's responsibility is to protect and serve the people in the community, and doing that puts you in jeopardy in a lot of ways, puts a law officer in jeopardy in a lot of ways, and trying to make the decisions between, you know, there's black and white and then there's gray. And then outside of that, there's red, and that's blood, you know. So that's sort of what, I mean, that's how I see the dynamic of this story.
There's a lot of blood spilled in this show.
Yes, there is. And, but ultimately, you know, it's to try to make sure that people can have a way of life they're working so hard to protect and to earn. And also, they know the responsibilities of the job. I mean, like your character and all the characters in here are committed to this way of life.
Which of these
And not
guys is
losing it, you
which
know.
of these guys is most likely to break the law?
In this show, I don't think either one of them sets out to break the law, but they'll bend the rule.
You got to get the job done.
Yeah.
On the patch, out at the patch,
Yeah.
you got to get the job
Yeah.
done. The world like Jacob said, I mean, the world relies on what we do out there, whether you like it or not, and whether we can find alternative ways. That's not what this show's talking about. We're opening up a window to this world. Taylor's holding up a mirror, and not passing judgment, but just showing you this way of life. And it's very particular. It's very rough, right?
And it's never
They
been
don't
seen
call them
before.
roughnecks for nothing.
Yeah.
As a lawyer, as a woman, you're up against a kind of a male-dominated industry. So you've got to be powerful, and you've got to be direct and confident. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was what was required of Rebecca.
Yeah, for me, I mean, having your family member working on the rigs, it's hard. You don't see them a lot, and they're working terrible hours, and it's also a very dangerous industry. I play a young mother, and so it's interesting to navigate that.
There's a tension right off the bat. He's part of a world that is very different from what Rebecca's used to. Rebecca is about rules and law, and she kind of goes to a place that's the Wild West. It really is. Things are a little unhinged there, so it creates a little bit of tension.
I mean, being a part of the Latino community, it's something I'm very passionate about, and something that Taylor and I, we really wanted to have this story and do it the right way with Ariana. And so I'm just so happy to bring Ariana to life. And certain scenes I am like, that's my mom and my grandma coming out. And wow. So it's amazing. But like the community, I mean, the Medinas always are together, and they support each other, and they're always a call away. If you need a cake and you watch the baby, like they're always there, and family's always been something that's strong for us.
So I think this is an incredibly important place in the world that very few people actually understand or know much about. And so I grew up out there, out in West Texas, and I have family in the oil and gas industry, and I just felt like there was something missing from the stories about the people in that place, and it needed to be told in an authentic way. And I'm just really grateful we got to tell this story at the scale that this show is. It's so epic. So I think it actually encompasses so much of this epic place and the people out there. So we've had shows like Dallas before, which are about the big wigs living in the cities and the suits. This show does have that component because it's absolutely a part of this world, but it also has the grit and the grime of the roughnecks, the people who actually extract oil out of the ground and risk their life and limb to do so. That has never really been shown before, and I'm really excited to show that upstairs downstairs version of this world.